We're going to learn, Lisa told me that Gittel's father passed away. So we're so sorry, obviously, for her loss. Condolences, Gittel, if you listen to this ever. But we will learn Le'ilui Nishmato. His Levaya is today. So Eliza shared the name, Yosef Dov Ben Shlomo. So whatever we learn today should be schut for him. So sorry for Gittel's loss. Eliza will hear follow-up maybe about some Shiva or what?
Yes, I'll send it to everybody. There's very little in-person Shiva, but I'll send
so
it
we are
out to
learning
the
for
group.
Gittel's father.
A lot on phone call.
Okay. Daniela, we just said Gittel's father passed away. So we're learning Le'iloi Nishmato. Yosef Dov Ben Shlomo. Today we're going to talk about our fundraiser, and Sarah Jo and Eliza were asking me to talk about it at the end and how we'll get to that later, I guess. But as I guess it was in my head, as I was thinking about, okay, what haven't we done? Where does the Sefer HaChinuch talk about interesting things? Like, what would be nice to share? And regarding tzedaka, it gets kind of interesting. I'll show you. So I decided, okay, in honor of the fundraising campaign that we have now at the end of this season of the Women's Beit Midrash, let's look at what the author of the Sefer HaChinuch writes about tzedaka. And you'll see that he brings up something that I think pushes buttons and I think is like kind of controversial and interesting. So it'll take us into a topic of hashgacha pratit, as you'll see in a second, about divine providence. And, these are like some nice texts to talk about or to show you, okay? So if you printed it or you have it, great. If you want to follow along with me, totally fine. I'll put it here on the screen and we will get cracking. And I'll show you. Okay. So if you just look up the simple mitzvah of giving money to people who are poor, people who need, we're talking about Parshat Re'eh. So that's mitzvah 470, right? Ayin 479, technically. Taf, ayin tet. Mitzvah tzedaka and Parshat Re'eh. Okay. La'asot tzedaka im tzarich eleha. Right? Do tzedaka. Now, I always think it's fascinating that in English we call it charity, but in Hebrew we call it tzedaka, and tzedek, righteousness, is very different than charity. Charity sounds like a real favor, you're welcome. Righteousness sounds like a have to, that I'm evil in some way if I don't. That's not the way you usually look at a favor. You don't say you're evil if you don't. So I always think it's interesting. We'll talk more about that in a minute, especially when we look at the psukim about giving and lending and this whole concept. But notice that the word tzedaka comes from the shorish tzedek, which I always think is telling. So you're going to do tzedaka with somebody who needs hatzarich elaha, someone who's in need of that tzedakah, besimcha uvetuv levav. Now, I can't help but remember that we talked about simcha and how it always means some sort of awareness of God. And you'll see in the psukim explicitly, when you're giving money, you think about how God is the one who gave you this money, okay? Uvetuv levav. And you have to do it with, with goodness that sounds. I always think about these concepts of like the categories, ben adam l'chaveiro, ben adam l'makom. So I'm always thinking, say, b'simcha. Maybe that's like about me and God and sort of appreciating where I have things from that I can give. B'tuv levav means my love for other people, my ahava, my v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Okay, klomar, shenitain mimamoninu lemi sheyachsar lo. We have to give from our money to those who are missing. Ulechazek he'ani. We have to strengthen the poor person. B'chol ma shetzarich lemichyато b'chol yecholteinu. Everything he needs to live, all of his sustenance, in any way we can. B'chol yecholteinu. V'al zeh ne'amar. We'll look at the psukim in a minute. Devarim tedvav b'torach tiftach et yadchalo, right? Open your hands. And Chachamim have said, Darshu, Zechronam levracha, the doubling of the verb, patoach tiftach, ve'afilu kama pe'amim. There's a lot of midrashim on the doubling of verbs in Torah. Often Chazal will jump on that and say something. Every single shoresh that I've ever looked up has a doubling in Tanakh. Clearly, the pshat of this doubling of the verb is just biblical Hebrew. That is the way the text speaks. It's always double. But yet Chazal don't miss a chance to say something. And what they want to say here is that you will give and you will keep giving, and you don't get to just check it off your list as something you've done. If there's a need, you'll give again. You'll just keep giving until that hole is filled. So the doubling of patoach tiftach, open your hand, gets understood by Chazal here as afilu kama pe'amim. You just keep doing it. Ve'od ne'amar, it also says v'chazakta bo. Ger v'toshav v'chaimach. Again, a place that talks about loans. We'll talk about that one in a minute. Vayikra v'amar od. It also says in that same source in Vayikra, v'chei achicha imach, that your brother has to be able to keep up a certain standard. And like, it's your job. Achicha is your brother, and we don't leave each other. Okay, so that's how the mitzvah of tzedakah starts. Nothing so new there. Only then he starts saying, Shorshei mitzvah, if you want to talk about why maybe we have this commandment among us, katavti, I already wrote about it, b'kesef talveh, mitzvah aleph, b'siman samach vav. Now, in the Sefer HaChinuch, I've never really understood this exactly. This must be some sort of tradition about the way we look at Parshat Mishpatim, okay? There's a nickname to half of Parshat Mishpatim. If you look up Parshat Mishpatim in Shemot, right, we know it starts with all these halachot about avadim and all sorts of like injuries, okay? And then damages. And then in Perek Kaf Bet, Pasuk of Dalid, it's Im kesef talveh et ami, and it starts talking about lending, and then a lot of other mitzvot. For some reason, I've never researched or asked, but in the Sefer HaChinuch, whenever he talks about the second half of Parshat Mishpatim, he calls it Im kesef talveh. I don't know if this reflects a tradition that parsha was read as two parshio. Like, I don't really know what's going on historically, but Im kesef talveh is like he's saying the name of a parsha, but we call it Parshat Mishpatim. It's the second half of Parshat Mishpatim. So, okay, he means basically Parshat Mishpatim, and he's calling it the first mitzvah of this section, Im Kesef Talveh. But it's actually Samech Vav overall. It's 66 of the 613 in the book. So we want to look at that because that's where we talk about lending money. And since that's the first place the Torah talked about the idea of taking care of people, that's where he spoke about it. Okay, so we'll get there in a minute. What I wanted to do is look up one other place for a minute that's not so complicated, which is really when we talk about tzedakah, remember, we're not only talking about money out of my wallet, we're talking, of course, about helping people who are in an agricultural world. So we're talking about all those gifts that we call matanot la'aniyim. And we're talking about the mitzvot that are tluyot be'eretz Yisrael only, the peya, the leket, the shikha, all of those. Okay, so I just wanted to go look there for a second and see if he adds anything, and then we'll go look up what he says in Samach Vav. Okay, so in peya, when we're talking about giving people from our fields, he mentions la'aniach pe'ah min hatzvu'ah, fine, right? Leave a corner of the field, as it says, la'ani v'lager ta'azovutam. Leave it for the poor person and the ger. Achar shezachar lo techale pa'at sadcha. After it said, don't finish, cutting it, leave it for these people. Uperush ger zeh ger tzedek. When we have the word ger in this context, we don't mean a ger toshav, which is a non-Jew who's keeping some of the mitzvot. We mean a ger tzedek, a righteous convert, a Jew now who comes from another land like Ruth, obviously. V'chein kol ger ha'amor b'matanot aniyim. Whenever we're talking about ger, and it's about tzedakah kind of things, katuv b'ma, it's always this ger tzedek. Katuv b'maser sheni, for example, like ger layatom v'la'amana. V'zevada ger tzedek hu min hastam. You would assume ger is ger tzedek, and especially he says, this is like a weird phrase, she'edav bitzido. I didn't trust myself, so I looked it up in English. She'edav bitzido means literally its witnesses are by its side, which means that when I see ger alone, I might not know what it is. But when I see it near yatom v'almanah, obviously we're talking about Jews and our people, like ger, yatom, almanah. Obviously that means the Jews, okay? So the edim are the almanah and yatom. They're like the witnesses that show that we're talking about a Jew that lives among us. And by the way, huadin l'chol matnot aniyim, that's always when it comes to these gifts. And by the way, this is so interesting. And even though we're talking about a ger tzedek, amru zechronam levracha she'ein moni'in otan me'aniyei goyim mipnei darkei shalom. We would never prevent a ger toshav or an ani from another, who happens to wander in, who's not Jewish, I would never stop them from taking matanot that are for aniyim mipnei darkei shalom, because of keeping peace between the nations. We do not need pogroms because of this. And I think that's probably such an interesting thing that leaders of communities have to consider when they talk about organizations that Jews set up to help Jews. If a non-Jew knocks on the door, I wonder what we say. You know, it's not so easy to say this is for Jews only. That's going to totally fan the flames of anti-Semitism. So just, there's an interesting issue of mipnei darkei shalom when it comes to tzedaka issues, okay? Fine. The inyana pay. The idea of the corner of the field, who there's actually no amount, just leave off a little piece in the corner. But the a 60th. That's payah, a 60th. Okay, let's start talking about Tamei mitzvah, philosophy behind this mitzvah. Nishorsha mitzvah for payah at least. Ki Hashem Baruch Hu ratzah liyot amo, asher bachar me'utarim b'chol mida tova v'yikara. We talked about this once when I brought you a few mitzvot that have the theme of cultivating kindness. So God wanted that his nation that he chose should be me'utarim, crowned, atara, crowned in all midot tovot and all midot yikarot, precious, wonderful midot. V'sheyihiyeh lahem nefesh bracha v'ruach nediva, be generous, good, kind-hearted people. Ukvar katavti, and I already wrote so often, and we've learned this. Ki mitocha pe'ulo titpa'el hanefesh. We know that out of the actions we do, our soul is moved, is inspired, is aroused, is changed, is affected. Great. Then we'll, be ra'ui for Birkat Hashem. Ve'in safek. Ki behotir ha'adam chelak echad miperotav b'sadeyu v'yafkirein sheyanu bo atzrichim. There's no doubt that when a person leaves a corner of their field, gives off their fruit, whatever, and makes it hefker, declares it ownerless, so that people who need can benefit. Tir ebenaf show sova ratzon, right? He's showing, probably tar'eh, he's showing in his nefesh a sova ratzon and a ruach nachonu mivorach. He's showing such a contentment, sova ratzon, like he's so full, he's so generous, it's so beautiful. V'chi Hashem yitbarach, hisbi'o b'tuvo. God, after all, has given him so much. V'gam nafsho b'tov talin, and his soul is inclined to do good. Okay, it's such a beautiful moment. V'me'asef hakol alabayit. V'lo yashir acharav bracha sheyanu bam ha'evyonim. And anyone who collects everything into their house, anyone who just hoards it in their pantry and doesn't leave anything for people, asher ra'u hasadeh b'kamotah, who saw the sadeh getting big. Like, you're talking about people who wander, people who live outside, people who have been salivating at your grain. V'it avuta ava eleha limalei nafsham ba ki ra'evu. People have been waiting for food, and they're watching these things grow, and you're going to leave it all to yourself and put it in your house. Somebody like that, yoreb nafsho b'li safek ro'alev, the nefesh ra'ah. Okay, you are showing without a doubt that you have such an evil heart and a mean spirit. V'gam ra'ah tivo'ehu, and evil will come to him. Kemo amru zachronam levracha b'midah sha'adam moded ba modidin lo, what we call midah keneged midah. However you behave, that's how you will be behaved too. That's how God will treat you. Okay, and this is a good explanation that will serve us well for all of the gifts that come from the farmer, the leket, the shikha, again in the vineyards, in the on the trees, like everything. All these different words that have to do with this gift. Okay, so nothing so new there, but again, really expected that you are going to give because it's disgusting to not be a giver, when you're in a position to be a giver, if you have, it's actually for you to give, and it shows such a mean spirit not to. It's so, unimpressive, to say the least. Okay, those are the words used. Now, if we go look at the psukim about tzedakah, it's just always amazing to me what's emphasized in the Torah. Okay, so again, we looked at Devarim. Ki yebecha evyon. When I talk about money, when there's a poor person among you, Ki yebecha evyon me'echad achecha, be'echad sherecha b'artzecha, asher Hashem Elokecha notein lach. I can't believe that God is not sticking in one of those lines on purpose, the way we did with Bikurim. You are bringing fruit from the land God gave you. Wink, wink. Okay, these are gifts. This is not yours. Lo ta'ametz et levavcha. Don't harden your heart. V'lo tikpotz et yadcha. Don't clench your fist. Mei achicha ha'evyon. From your brother. Ki patoach tiftach et yadcha lo. You give him. We read the Midrash even 100 times. And lend him. The psukim right before this, at the beginning of the Perek Tet Vav, were about how you give out money on a loan, and then when the 7th year comes around, the loan is going to be canceled. Shmitat ksafim. All loans got canceled out in the Shemitah year. So we're saying here, you're going to give, and you're going to do loans, and be careful in Pasuk Tet. Hishamer lacha, penya davarim levav, lest you have an evil thought in your mind. That's what davar b'liya'al means. Chazal say it might also come from the word b'li'ol, without a yoke of heaven, meaning it's not from. It's not just mean, it's not from. Lay more, if you ever will say, karvash nata shavash nata shmita. Ooh, the 7th year is coming. Some guy's asking for a loan in year 6. Why not? Why would I never want to be the sucker, the friar, who gives the loan in the 5th or 6th year? Because what's going to happen?
You won't get it back.
He's not getting it back. It's getting canceled in a second. If you say that, V'kara alecha el Hashem, he will call out to God about you. He'll talk about you to God. He'll say, you were mean. And you'll have a sin on your record. Give him, and not only give him, but such a high standard. It's not enough that I give. I have to be so happy, so thankful, so excited. Like what? It's really a tall order. I have to be so excited when a meshulach knocks on my door. I have to be so happy to give. I'm in a position to give. Besimcha. Ubetuv levav. And now, ki biglalo hadavar hazeh yivarechecha Hashem Elokecha b'chol ma'asecha u'b'chol mishlach yadecha. It's for this. You have money. You have wealth for this moment. They're not annoying you. They're part of this whole picture. In this lifetime, or in this moment at least, in this year, you're the giver, there's a receiver. That's the way it is. Ki lo yachdal evyon mikaraf haaretz. There will never cease to be poor people among us. Al kain, anochi mitzavcha limor, patuach testachet yitcha lachicha la'aniyecha levyonecha be'artzecha. That's your job. That's why you have money. You can either be the giver, and if you're not good at it, God will fire you, make you the receiver, and somebody else can play the role of giver. You decide. Okay? Ki biglalo hadavar hazeh. Yivarechecha Hashem Elokecha b'chol ma'asecha. It's like very powerful. And then in Vayikra, where the Sefer HaChinuch was bringing up other psukim, the word uses v'chiamuch achicha. If your neighbor is lowered, namuch. If your neighbor goes low, meaning obviously financially, socioeconomically, umataya doimach v'chazatabo ger v'toshav v'chai imach, and he comes to you and he's asking for something, you give. Al tikach meito neshach v'tarbit. We know that there's no loan, there's no rebate, there's no interest. V'yareita me'alokecha v'chai achicha imach v'yareita me'alokecha. How is yirat Hashem relevant here? Why do you think God sneaks in v'yareita me'alokecha? Do not charge interest v'yareita me'alokecha. Why do you think the phrase v'yareita me'alokecha is here after the don't charge interest? Sometimes it's used for mitzvot that we think God can't see. Like lifnei iver lo titein michshol v'yareita me'alokecha. Don't put a stumbling block in front of a blind person, fear God, meaning I can see you. I saw that. So if you think no one knows, so it could be for that. It also could be maybe what we're talking about in terms of your ultimate frumkeit. If you are going to charge interest, you don't get it. You're not from fear of God. God gives the money here. It's not yours. Stop being so hoggy about it. Okay, at kaspacha lo titein lo b'neshech, etc. Look at lamed chet. Ani Hashem Elokeichem asher tzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim. Why are we bringing that up? Latet lachem et eretz Canaan, liyot lachem le'elokim. It's like such a harsh reminder of where we are. People, I took you out of Egypt. This is all my doing. I'm the one who comes up with your freedom. You never would be where you are if it wasn't for me. Okay? I'm the one who's in charge here. By the way, I just thought it was interesting that it gets followed with. And if you're, if you're a neighbor, if your peer, if somebody from your nation gets so low, that he has to sell himself to you, nebuch. Do not oppress him and work him hard. Remember, it's that idea. Avodat perech at the end again. You don't get to abuse him. You don't get to enjoy your being on top. It's such musar. Do not stand on top gloating with a power. Okay? Inappropriate, like the frumkeit here. Okay, so Yirat Hashem, humility, appreciation of what you have, play the role you were meant to play. Okay, those are the psukim. Okay, now, if I go to check a little bit more about some philosophy behind the mitzvot, I found a crazy thing that for me opened up a Pandora's box in the other one in number 66. The one that's talking about im kesef talveh, when you loan. So I just want to read again the beginning. This is now back to Parshat Mishpatim. The mitzvah here is lahalvot le'ani. Okay, you're going to loan kehasagat hayad kefi ma shetzarich lo, as much as you can do with what he needs. You gotta do as much as you can do and try to fill his need as much as you can. L'man harchiv lo u'lahakel me'alav anchato, in order to give him some release and some like a break. V'zot mitzvah shel halva'ah, so interesting. This mitzvah of a loan, hi yoter chazaka u'mechuyevet mi mitzvat nitinat tzedaka, which we'll get to in Devarim. We haven't even learned about tzedaka officially yet. But the Sefer HaChinuch here is writing that loans are even better than tzedaka. Why? Why is giving a loan such a better move than giving tzedaka?
You're going to put him on his feet, maybe.
Totally. You are empowering someone. You are giving dignity. The whole idea is that we want to keep everyone's dignity, that people should be self-sufficient, which I always think is part of halachta bidrachav, part of emulating God, who is the most self-sufficient, obviously, lahavdil, the most atzma'i, the most of a giver. Any amount of self-sufficiency and independence we have, to me, is emulating God. So it's just like the highest level. So to give someone a halva'ah, we know, is the biggest thing you can do for someone. Yeah, Tanya.
I just wanted to say that I think it's more you're looking for long-term solutions, and the best way of emulating God. Try to give loans so people can repay you. They have their dignity, like you're saying, but it's to help them in the long run. That it's not just a Band-Aid. Even being an Eved Ivri, it's usually long-term. It's not a Band-Aid. It's let's try to get you up on your feet. And I think halva'ot are hard because you're giving of yourself, hoping you'll get the loan back, hoping you'll get your principal amount back. It doesn't always happen.
So it's kind of like a mind game in that way, because tzedakah is black and white. I'm the good guy. I gave you money, and I know I'm never going to see it again. When I give a loan, I'm a little bit attached to it still. It's a little bit anxiety producing for me, right? Like it's a trickier one for me. It's harder for me.
I think how the ot, it's giving and taking. It's a two-sided, knowledgeable with knowledge, a program. Meaning you know who's giving you the money. You know you're obligated to give it back. And so let's do it the best humanly way. But that's why b'yirat Elokecha, you're not God. If he can't
Okay, now
repay,
I also
you're
wonder.
not God.
Okay, and I also wonder, because the talk here is not only about a community and helping each other, it's like this musar. It's like, this is what it is, people. God created a system where there are givers and takers. You'll see in a second, he says it very clearly. So there's also a part of this that makes me feel like part of the loan is also for me. It's not only to help the person on the other end. There's also like an exercise in emunah, in giving, in midot training that he's talking about that people are
Can I ask a question?
going through in giving. So yeah.
Can I ask? What if someone coming to you for years for loans and you've been lending them money? Deep down, you know you're not going to get it back, but they keep coming to you, and it's already putting me into anxiety that I know they're just going to come again and I'm not going to see it. And I feel like they're taking my money and they're just taking it and wasting my money.
Now, I always say if someone's wasting it, we have a bigger problem. Like I always tell girls when they don't realize it's not necessarily the right thing to do to just give money to every hand that is open on Ben Yehuda. That is not necessarily correct. If a person is unstable or a drug addict or an alcoholic or, just not able to handle money, my giving God's gift is baltashit. Like for me to waste, if God gave me money and trusts me and I'm the one who's in charge of this, amount. So I'm not allowed to just throw it out by giving it to some drug addict. So I would assume, I think, and I would always talk to a rabbi first, but there's always this like play. It's kind of like the idea of in general, ben adam l'chavero. It's very nice to say that I'm going to give and I'm going to give. But at a certain point, you are not having your own dignity protected. You yourself are now not taking care of your kivod atzmi because someone's taking advantage of you and abusing you. You don't have to be spoken to like that. You don't have to be treated like that. There's a difference between being nice and being a carpet. And that's not dignified and that's not good either and from of you. So there's that moment where all of a sudden all of this sort of goes to the dark side. And now the person's taking advantage of you. The person is wasting the money. And now I think it's time to maybe say, wait, what's the psak when it comes to this? It's kind of like kibbut of aim questions. If a parent is abusive, if a parent is neglectful, does that mean I just keep shelling out kibbut of aim? No, kibbut of aim is very interesting when it comes to really dysfunctional families. It's not like carte blanche. You know what I mean? It's not like that. So I think you're totally right. Questions will absolutely come up. Questions will come up. If you want to see the books of an organization, if you want to say to a person, I can only do this much, you got to show me this before I give you more. Deep down, you're setting them up for empowerment, self-respect, dignity. And like Tanya's talking about society, like we're trying to move society forward. Rav Kook, like sort of the Yishuv Olam and trying to raise, what's going on in the world out there. And you're creating a mess with the way this is working. So I totally agree. Every case gets interesting on its own. Going back to this loan, fine. So we talked about why the loan is more important. Yeah, what?
I just think Cookie's example is more the distinction between when does a halva'ah become tzedaka for the person giving. And
okay, but even tzedaka, that you're right. And then I took tzedaka to the place where the person is not doing anything with the tzedaka in order to start building a tiny nest egg. Take the money I gave you, go on the train and go for a job interview. Take the money I gave you, make some food and sell a little bit to get money, whatever it is. I'm just giving stupid examples, but the idea of even tzedakah, I wonder if there's ever a point, there might not be, some people are not able to work due to injury, right? Due to old age, due to something like that. So then, okay, that's, I support this family. That's what I do. But there are definitely moments where you're not a bad person for wondering if you're being taken advantage of. So you're right. Halva'ot are the best. Halva'ot sometimes becomes tzedaka, and that is your obligation. Tzedaka sometimes becomes like abusive, and that's, not okay. Now, the Shoresh HaMitzvah, if we skip down, you're going to find Sharatzah HaKel Liyot Bru'av. This is what we saw before so far, okay? The idea here is that God wants his creations to be habituated and learned in Midat Chesed Ve'Rachamim, Melumadim Umurgalim, from the word Hergel. Kihi Midah Meshubachat. Be a giver, do chesed. That's a praiseworthy value. Umitoch hechsher gufam b'midot hatuvot yiyu re'uyim lekabalat hatov. Right? And then by purifying themselves with these amazing midot, they're going to be blessed by God. It's an opportunity. Kimo sha'amarnu shechalot hatov b'habracha le'olam al hatov lo b'hafcho. Good will always come to good. You will be a magnet for God's blessing. Ubeiti and now everything's perfect because God only wanted to be good to you anyway. This all was about goodness and kindness and extending, and you extended to someone and God extended to you. It kind of sounds Kabbalistic about like achdut and one, and we're all extensions of each other and extensions of God. And if not for this is such a cute point. And if not from this angle, then God could go out and give poor people what they need without us. What, God doesn't have time? God is lazy? God is not capable of dropping man from the heaven? Why can't God take care of poor people? No, it's for us. Ela shahaya mechasdo baruchu shena'asenu shluchim lo lezakotenu. This is about our having an opportunity to be God's shluchim in the world. God saying, I have an opportunity for you to represent me in the world. And that gives you merit. And then you get to have a reward. How amazing is that? Thank you. You're literally saying thank you. I try to remember that. When a mishulach comes to the door, a woman came last night. I've seen her before. She comes around often. I don't know what to do. So I give a little. Do you know what I mean? She has a thing. She has one of those letters. Okay, I guess she needs help. So we'll help her. So I give her, and I always stop myself from feeling any of that, and I always just say, hi, yeah, I remember you, sure, hold on, let me see what I have, thank you so much. Like I say thank you to her, thank you so much for coming, because I try to think to myself, she's giving me an opportunity to be God's shaliach. I now just had merit. God had her at my door so that I could be the one to accrue merit. Okay? Otherwise, God could have taken care of all of this on his own. It's a really beautiful line. Okay? In Lav Mitzad, shows that. Halahu baruchu yaspik la'ani de machsoro zulatenu, without us. Okay, but now comes the next part, and I don't know what I think about this, so I'm going to show it to you, and you're going to tell me what you think. There's another reason for this mitzvah, I think. And what's interesting about it is we're going to flip it now. So far, we've been talking about how amazing it is for me to be the giver, how it's an opportunity for me. But remember, who are we forgetting to talk about? This is all fun and games for me. But in order for me to be the giver and accrue merit, somebody has to suffer. Like, who wants to be on the other side of this play? So, al yedei b'nei adam migodel chet'o. Hashem wants this poor person to be stained by people because of the greatness of his sin. He's being punished. Kadesha yuchach, so he gets musar, he gets tochacha, he gets rebuked, b'machov, with pain. B'shnei panim, b'kabalata boshet me'asher kigilo, he has to suffer shame, like via, I think it means someone his age, like because someone has to give him, u'b'tzimtzum mizono, and with not having enough food. So you have to feel hungry, and you have to ration your food, and you have to feel the humiliation of being a recipient, And that is your punishment for sin. Okay, what did he just say?
I kind of get it.
Okay, do you like this? Do you not like this? Is this making you uncomfortable?
I kind of get it in a weird way, like, but not quite. I mean, I can talk from personal experience. I've always
Okay, go
been
for
a
it if you
giver.
don't mind. Sure.
No. I've always been a giver. That's my nature. I like to give, whether it's warmth. It doesn't necessarily have to be money. It could be warmth. It could be knowledge. It could be experience. I like to share. I like to give. And I was always on the giving side, and I didn't know how to take. I didn't know how to accept. It wasn't in my nature. So, and everybody said, "Oh, can I help you?" I would say, "No, I got it." It comes to a point where you give so much and you don't see the side of receiving, that God puts you in a situation where you become on the receiving end. I don't view it as a punishment. I use it as a learning, as a tool.
Okay.
You don't say, why me? You say, why not me for that instance? It's not saying it's a lifetime of being poor or punished. It's an incident. And if you see it for what it is, and you can learn how to receive, then you can become a better giver in the future.
Okay, so what you are saying,
I see the text.
Okay, good. So what you are saying about focusing the camera on the receiver for a minute is so true. And I like the way that he didn't just keep talking about how amazing tzedakah is for the givers, because there's half the world out there who are the receivers, and he's ignoring the fact that this is not fun for them. And here he's saying, let's look at it from the other side. What does it give the receiver? But what you are saying really, was very nice, because it's way more uncomfortable hashgaphically what he's saying. He's saying every time there's a poor person, that poor person is being patched.
I didn't say it's a patch. I say it's a learning experience.
I know.
You can only only grow from it. Honestly, I didn't want to be on the receiving side. I didn't feel comfortable being on the receiving side, but I had to learn how to receive.
I know. And what do you guys think?
If you look at it as I'm sorry, go ahead. She was still talking.
No, I'm just saying it becomes a life lesson where you only become a better person because of it. And if you view it that way, then you have more of a positive effect on society and on yourself, and hopefully with God at the end of the day.
I agree with everything you're saying, but everybody see that he says it like a little differently that you might not like. I'm not saying you have to agree with him. It's hashgacha here. But he's saying that there's a punishment. When you're poor, it's a punishment.
But you can still, maybe, we shouldn't be tested, but, chesed goes in both ways, as maybe he's looking at it as it being a punishment. At another time when the person is not like that, he will remember that chesed, that maybe he can help somebody else. In other words,
like what Tanya was just saying.
In other words, yeah. It's like, we always want to be the givers. We always want to be in a position where we can give and be the ones doing the chesed. But we don't, you don't look at it so much that poor person is giving us that opportunity. We wouldn't understand what chesed really is if there weren't also those people, which we may also be at some time or another, where we have to accept help. But these are those opportunities that God is giving us to take what we're learning and give to the other person. And hopefully that other person should be able to climb out of their situation and reciprocate that chesed at another time for somebody else.
Okay, I guess I'll ask the question really pointedly, raise your hand if you live with the philosophy that he lives with. He lives in a world where when he sees poverty, he says, I guess that person needed to be punished. Do you look at poverty? Like Lisa saying, no, I do not. I think it's these kinds of remarks always just they make me smile, because I know that we all spend our days trying to figure out how God works in this world when it comes to individuals. And I'm saying individuals specifically because the Torah addresses the national picture over and over and over again. It does not speak about individuals. It speaks about a nation. So I don't have to talk about how God works with Am Yisrael. God himself told me, Einei Hashem Elokecha ba. God's eyes are on this land, and he's watching us. And then I will give rain, and I will never destroy you forever. There will always be a remnant. And even when you go into Galut, I promise I will bring you home. Like I got the national picture. I don't spend my nights thinking about the national picture. But what we all spend our nights thinking about is, did God mean for that to happen to me? Did God mean for that to happen to that person? How much does God come down and zap the individual? And here, in this little moment about tzedaka, I just think he like throws out one of these statements where you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's like a separate topic. God created tzedaka so that he can punish people? Like, that's the other reason for tzedakah, so that he can have it as a punishment, so that you can give people and it makes them feel bad, and you are part of that discipline. I mean, it's really like, I don't know, it doesn't really sit so comfortably with me, obviously. It's a little like...
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I'm in my car. I'm going to turn this down. I always tell my kids to try to think about it in the micro. Like if I serve dinner every night and I didn't give someone any food on their plate, I gave everybody the same amount of food and I didn't give them food at all, I wouldn't do it as a punishment. I would do it because it would give everyone else an opportunity to look down at their plate and take a little bit and give it to that person. And I would be building compassion in them. I wouldn't be like shaming them in front of everyone because they said a bad word that day. And
Okay.
I mean, maybe that's just, helped me think about it and think about Monster, but makes me a lot more comfortable than the idea that I would like withhold, Johnny's dinner because he didn't behave, and then everybody else would have more compassion than I did.
And not only more compassion, but look at the word boshet. Humiliate him by giving him. That's the part he has to suffer. Machov. He has to suffer hunger and humiliation, and that's what he gets as a punishment. I don't know. It's very.
It makes it sound like it's just random, that you're choosing somebody at random so that everybody else should give them. Why specifically that person?
He's saying that
But
it's punishment.
he's saying this ani, when you see an ani, you know that ani is being punished. Notice, and again, I have a lot of trouble with this. This does not sit well with me, but it doesn't matter. This to me is always the most fascinating topic to like show people that you can all sit and say whatever you want about how God works. It doesn't matter because it's all in your head. Tachlis. At the end of the day, this is one of those examples of seeing a book that's going to do philosophy of mitzvot. You can like it or you cannot like it. It doesn't. We get what the mitzvah is. The mitzvah is very clear. Give loans, give tzedakah. I got it. Why do you think God created a phenomenon where, a reality where people are needy? Why can't God just give everybody? Why can't God? I don't know. What do you think? And then we all sit and talk about God like we do that all the time. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And then I disagree with you. And then you agree with me. And then we agree on one thing, but we disagree about another. This is like the discussion about illness. This is the discussion about, there's so many times where we go, why is God doing this? And I know you're not supposed to do it in the moment. We all know you're not supposed to say why. Okay, fine. We get that. But when we're just sitting around a Shabbos table and we're trying to understand God, because I have a mitzvah of Ahavat Hashem, I have to try to get to know God, but this is a relationship. The same way on a date, I'm going to ask questions. I want to get into my husband's head. Tell me why you're upset. Tell me why you took that job. Why are you talking like that? I'm going to do the same for God. Why does God have a world where there is an unevenness in our socioeconomic reality? I don't know. He says it's either for the giver to habituate us in kindness, or maybe it's as a punishment for the poor person. It's another rod that God uses. Okay. Now, it made me go look. I just want to share with you, it made me go look. I'm going to skip over this Gemara for a second. It's an interesting Gemara about tzedakah. I encourage you to learn it. It's fun, about who's the tzedakah for and why couldn't have God done this himself, and does God like when we give the poor person money, or if he didn't want him to have money, is he annoyed that we gave him the money because he wants him not to have money? It's like talking about tzedakah, but skip it for a second so I can get to the other part of this, which is I want to show you another place where the Sefer HaChinuch, we're learning this book. So I'm trying to understand his philosophy. Agree or don't. But if we have to write a paper at the end of this about his philosophy, I just want to give you another source where he writes about it. And that comes up with tzara'at. If you ever want to know what the Sefer HaChinuch says about hashgacha pratit, look at tzara'at. Okay, where he says that when it comes to the idea of tzara'at and the tum'ah and having to decree, that a person be living alone for a little bit, okay? So the mitzvah is Kuf Samech Tet, 169, literally just like about tzara'at, Parshat Tazria. L'tamei adam mitzura. We have an obligation to say he is tamei. Klomar shemitzvah hi aleinu. Shekol mi sheyeh mitzura. Shiavo el HaKohen lish'ol al tzarato, v'HaKohen yitamenu o yitaharenu. The Kohen will declare in tamer tower, v'hu yitnaheg al pi haTorah k'tuva kasher yitzavenu HaKohen. And then he's going to do what the Torah commanded, that the Kohen will teach him. V'lo yikach hadavar kecholi haba b'mikreh. Do not take that as a coincidence. Ela yitain leiv alav v'yeda ki godel avono garamoto. This is a position in Jewish philosophy, that illness is a punishment. And I don't know, it's like, I can't believe it. To me, I can't believe it. And he says it very in Shorshei HaMitzvah, likboa b'nafshotenu ki hashgachat Hashem baruch hu pratit al kol echad ve'echad mibnei adam. God's hashgacha is on every individual. He has cameras going on every single person. V'chi einav pikuchot al kol darcheihem. Kamosha katuv, as a pasuk in Eov says, ki einav al darchei ish v'chol tza'adav yireh. V'lachein huzarnu latet leiv el achol yara v'lachshov ki achet garamoto. We have to sit and think, what did I do? What did I do? As we learn that Lashon Hara causes tzara'at. Ki b'chet Lashon Hara yavo berov. V'lo nikachenu derech mikreh. It's like so interesting to hear people talk like that. He says in the next paragraph, V'chol inyan eskerin elu. All of these quarantines that we talk about with the Mitzvah, okay, literally hasger, like what we use nowadays with Corona. The quarantines. Yoreh, they teach us hashgachato baruch hu al kol darchei ha'adam achat le'achat. Ulefi sha'adeyot rabot b'hashgachat hakel. And since he admits, since there are so many opinions about hashgachat Hashem al kol bru'av, since there are so many opinions about this, yavo ba harbe psukim ba mikra, varbe mitzvot laharot al ha'inyan, miyoto pina gidola b'toratenu. Because this is a major fundamental cornerstone of our religion, how God interacts with us. So there's a lot of psukim about it, and there's a lot of opinions about it. Now again, the psukim in the Torah are about the nation. So psukim in Tanakh might be, about individuals, but I just find it interesting that in the Torah, so what he thinks in the next paragraph, the way he sees it, v'anachnu ba'alei hadata amitit, what he thinks is the right way is nasim hashgachato baruch hu al kol minei ba'alei hachayim b'klal. When it comes to all animals, there's a certain general hashgacha, klomar shekol min aminin hanivrain ba'olam yitkayim la'olam lo yechle v'yovad kulo. There'll never be an annihilation of a certain kind of animal. Ki b'hashgachato yimtza kiyum l'chol davar, because God will see that everything live on. But ubemin ha'adam, but when it comes to humans, na'amin ki hashgachato baruch hu al kol echad b'echad b'frat v'hu ha'mevin al kol ma'aseihem. Like he goes on and on to talk about this. And that's why he says, V'lachein hisiranu haTorah, ki b'hagia el ha'adam achol yara, v'hu hatzara'at, shelo yikachenu derech mikreh, rak yachshov miyad ki avonotav garmu. Now, here he's talking about tzara'at. But before he said any choli. So does he only mean sara'at because it's the supernatural kind of disease? He doesn't mean strep. He doesn't mean a UTI. He doesn't mean corona. I don't know. But it sounds like he's saying what a lot of people say, which is go and think about what you did. And I don't know. It's like really hard. It does, it's like hard for us to, I don't think most of us talk like that. That's all. He says it again 2 mitzvot later, still talking about leprosy, still talking about sara'at. The idea that he talks about here, klal gadol b'chol advarim, again, this idea of Gemul, the second line, Gemul b'nei Adam, that God does, there's a certain payback that God does, but what he says is it's not petty. What's interesting about his shita here is it's not petty. He says it's not like man, where you're getting back at someone. He says instead, and maybe you'll like this, and maybe this makes it more understanding. He says instead, it's like the mashal would be like the following, okay? Hamashal, look at the last line here. Tell me if this sounds right. Hamashal al zeh, haholech b'derech yashar. Let's say you're walking on a road, guys. Upanoi me'avanim mikol davar machshil, and it's clean and clear of all stumbling blocks. But yesh lederech geder kutzim mikan umikan. But there's thorns to the right and the left. The avar echad, one person is walking, v'nitchakech bageder v'nechveh, and a person rubs up against the thorns and gets hurt. באמת אין לומר על האיש הזה שהשם חפץ בקביעתו, אבל הוא הגורם, כי לא נזהר ללכת ביושר. This guy is to blame for it. So yes, he got hurt because he went off the path, but not as a punishment, more as what we'd say nowadays in parenting, as a consequence. You wasted your money, now you don't have to buy the new toy you want. That's not a punishment, that's a consequence. Uchemo chen, he says, ba'al hachet. That's how it is when it comes to sinning. Uchemo chen, ba'al hachet, midat hadin techayvenu al chet'o al kol panim. There's a midat hadin here. It's not like this personal vendetta that God has. It's the way the whole equation works. Don't say God wants him to be liable. It's just it's just that God had to hold back from giving all that good because of his sin. And then in the next paragraph, he talks about hashgacha. If a person does wrong, if a person sins, there is hester panim. God is no longer with him. You walked away. You broke up the relationship. Well, if there's hester panim, good luck to you. Bad things are going to happen, including getting sick. So yeah, it's a punishment, but not the way you think of it. It's a consequence. You sinned, you lost God's hashgacha, and now hell breaks loose. Does that soften it a little? Do you like that?
Nope, I don't like that one at all.
Okay.
I think it's more of an inyan of Kol Yisrael Arvim Zelazeh. When one sins, we're all responsible, and we got to help him with tzedaka, with halvaot, to lift him up again. And then the midat harachabim comes back in, and there's no longer hester panim. When God says we watch out for one another, then he's there for all of us again, because that's what he wants of his nation.
This is what gets so hard about discussing hashgacha pratit. And this is what I struggle with every day, and so do you, everybody here. If you want to say that that poor person is not poor as a punishment, you're either saying that God doesn't work to that level of tit for tat, or you're saying that poor people are there for us to learn good midot, and it stinks for them that they're the poor ones, but some people have to play the poor one and some people have to play the rich one. Otherwise, why are there people who are poor? Why are people suffering? Oh wait, that's the question that we've been asking our whole lives. Why are people suffering? Why do bad things happen to good people? Here we are again. Who knew that tzedaka was going to bring up tzadik viralo. Like, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about why we have people who are poor. Why do some people go to college, get a degree, and can't seem to hold down a job? Why do some people have the hardest time with the roof leaking, and then this, and everything got out of them, and then someone hits them in the car, and then they have a leak, and then they have a mice problem, and then what is going on here? Why are they didn't do anything we're all the same. But I'm saying that's how he sees it. Take it or leave it. You don't have to agree with him. We've all, Jewish philosophy is all over the place in terms of hashgacha pratit. But that's what this is. This tzedaka brought up the issue of hashgacha pratit. It's very interesting. I just thought it was so interesting that it went there because of one of the answers that he gives. That's one of the answers that he gives. So, I
think he gives alternate answers so that based on you and your life and your knowledge and your relationship with God, you could choose which route you want to. It's pick your roots, pick your reason.
So
what works best for you?
I would say, so I would always emphasize when it comes to philosophy of mitzvot, what Tanya's saying, which is 100% acceptable to pick whatever you like. Because what we're not picking is the action. What we're not picking is the fulfillment of the mitzvah. There's no psak when it comes to hashgacha. There's no psak on hashgacha. Go ahead and think about God however. I always say whatever gets you to daven mincha, whatever gets you to, keep Shabbos, if that's how you think of God, great. You will be challenged enough. We're all challenged with I don't get God, I don't get God, I don't get God. So if you have a theory that's working for you for a few days or a few years, go with it. Great, I'm so happy for you. Because there are people who cannot get up in the morning and serve God with the questions they have. But this stuff, make peace. Pick a path, go for it, and do the mitzvah. At the end of the day, this religion is so much deed over faith that the questions we have about this kind of stuff really end up just sitting at a Shabbos table. They just stay at a Shabbos table. They just do. I don't know. I don't know the answer. This is what he says. You just have to say, I agree with you or I don't agree with you. And we move on. We're all giving tzedakah. We're all giving loans. That's just, that's what he thinks. Okay. So that is, so interesting. It's just interesting also when you're studying Sefer HaChinuch. The idea is look at what people give as reasons for things. It's so interesting. It says so much about who they are in terms of their approach to God, their relationship. Do you know what I mean? Like this is teaching us about the author of the Sefer HaChinuch. Maybe it's teaching us about his century, about the psychology. Then for sure we're affected by secular culture around us, by different philosophies around us, by, I don't know, like we all have thought about God in so many different ways, So I obviously have nothing to say about that. I just wanted to show you how something as charming and classic as tzedaka ends up opening the door to theodicy and tzadik viralo and why there are poor people, and it's fascinating. Okay, so on that note, since we all agree we like to be givers, Aliza, I'm going to cue you so that you can play Batya's video and we'll talk about the fundraiser. Is this a good time? Did we lose Aliza? There we go.
I want to tell you.
Okay, everybody, grab your popcorn.
Community and of our board during this Corona period has been really an exceptional upsurge in consuming Torah. In ein kemach, ein Torah, and board is our community love to eat. But what's really special is that our community also loves to consume Torah. During this period, the board has been absolutely exceptional in providing programs before Pesach, before Yom Yerushalayim, before Shavuot. There was an increase in participation, and all of that was offered for free. Regular ongoing classes continue to exist and continue to grow, and participants and enjoying keeping ourselves rooted in our values and in Torah. And no one expects to eat for free, and certainly nobody can expect that everybody will be producing these top quality classes at no cost. So I'm turning to you now. There's a 200,000 shekel Magabit campaign, which is being run right now, which will cover some of the expenses which are necessary to continue to provide an excellent meal. So I'd like to ask you to send in your donation today and consider it as part of your portion towards the next meal. Kol Tov, and we'll continue to meet in the Beit Midrash as we put our values where we really want them to be.
Okay. I hope everybody. I feel like every year this community. I think I'm always preaching to the choir because we're the ones who are always showing up to learn. So I think we are the givers to this Beit Midrash program. But if everybody could please remember to send in their yearly donation. If anybody has the ability to raise it this year, of course, that would be so welcome. We all value, I love coming together to learn with you. I always see it as coming together to learn with you. I benefit from this opportunity as much as you do, you know. So I always give every year. You know, even though I get paid to teach, I give back to continue the Beit Midrash for our whole community. I hope you do too. Aliza, what should we do? This is what it is.
This is how to donate. So to help somebody to click on the screen and have the, or to see that they can go to the website, credit card, check, bank transfer, whatever's the easiest way for you to donate.
Okay, wbm.org.il/donate.
Yeah, even if you just do wbm.org.il, there's a donate button on that page as well.
Okay, I'm going to go now and do it. I hope you all will too. And next week we have our last shiur for this course. So, and then I'm done. I have to go do work for camp and take my break. But I'll finish up. I'll find some other things that we have not discussed yet. I'd like to talk about sorcery next week. I love the Sefer HaChinuch. To hear about why sorcery is wrong is also interesting. The whole machloket about how to look at that world of, you know, the dark arts. So I'm gonna go see if that's something we can build on for next week. Okay, Aliza, do you see that Tanya is asking about Paybox?
Okay, I see that. I'll look into that.
Okay.
I'll check with the board if that's an option.
All right, guys, have a great week.
Bye-bye.